welcome, Barbara Lamb, to our big
Thank you.
Omni exclusive. Thank you for joining us. How are
Well, it's
you?
wonderful to be with you. I'm very happy, and I'm always happy to talk about these particular subjects.
Our audience is so excited to hear more about yourself, your life, all the exciting things that are happening. And before we were just chatting that you have a really exciting new news that just came out.
Yes,
So let's talk about it.
yes, the excitement is that just 2 days ago, a new book was published, uh, compiled by me and a woman named Mary Edwards. So the name of the book is E.T. Friends in Space, a new book for children
Oh,
about children's extraterrestrial encounters. In my work as a regression therapist and psychotherapist, and we have 18 different scenarios, each one a different kind of adventure experience that children have had with these beings. They consider them very, very positive, and they may talk to their parents about it, and the parents might say, "Oh, that's just your imaginary friend,"
oh,
or "You must have dreamed it," or
oh
"You have an
no,
active imagination." And, that's really difficult for the child because the
absolutely.
child knows that these visitors have been real, and yet they're not believed. Children are terrific. And, I think children basically like to tell the truth.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, they have imaginations too, some more than others, but I think when children are reporting things that they have experienced, they want the truth to come out. They want to be heard
Yes, they
for the
do.
truth. And so the more adults who can really listen to them and ask them to say whatever they want to say about those experiences and about the beings, that is really good.
It opens up
Yes,
dialogue, which is really important. It's something that you've been doing for a very, very long time, many, many years in therapy, opening up
yes,
dialogue about things that are tough to talk about, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a validation to anybody of any age, children or adult, um, who have had these experiences. And that's very helpful to them.
Oh yeah,
Oh, thank
I
you
want to read
for,
this book.
okay, good.
Yeah.
Has a hardcover edition and a softcover edition and a Kindle edition. Autograph copy. You cannot get the autograph copy through Amazon, but um, you can always go to my website, which is barbaralamregressions.com. Yeah.
Well, I recommend all of our cosmic listeners to do it that way, to go to your website, barbaralamregressions.com, and order this new and amazing book. It sounds so incredibly healing, not only for the adults, but especially for the children. So
Yeah.
let's learn more about you. We're all so excited to learn more about who Barbara Lamb is. So you did over 2,000 regressions. I was one of them, by the way, if everyone's watching.
Yes, you were.
I was one of the
Yes.
regressions. That's how Barbara and I became friends and we met. It was amazing. I recommend everyone doing a regression because you never know
Wonderful.
what's in the very back parts of your subconscious. What got you
Okay.
into regression therapy? How long have you been doing it? For people who don't know you, let's give them a taste of exactly who you are and how much incredible experience you have in the realm
Okay.
of regression therapy.
Well, I began as a psychotherapist, being licensed in 1976. I'm still a psychotherapist. And then in the mid 1980s, I began to get training as a past life regression therapist. So then I was doing past life therapy as part of my psychotherapy practice. And then in 1991, I had heard that there was such a thing as extraterrestrial beings visiting and taking away for an hour or two many, many humans. I had heard of it, and that I could use the regression therapy techniques that I had already learned and had been using for a few years at that time. And I could use that to help people get more details. details about their experiences with these other beings. Most people do begin having contacts with extraterrestrials if they have contacts at all. They usually begin in early childhood. My first person came not wanting a past life regression, but wanting regressions to find out the details, experiences that she had been happening with unusual beings who turn out to be extraterrestrial beings. And her mother found me and asked me to do regression work with her. I was very encouraged about that work because even though she had been highly traumatized before she came to me, she found out during all of these regressions that we did that the beings that they were doing some really good things with her in these experiences and were helping her. And then the very earliest I have ever known about in regression work is a man who, big, tall, 6'4", husky, sturdy, strong man, first extraterrestrial experience. And it happened when he was in his mother's womb. Interesting in itself. But even more interesting was the fact that when he was in his mother's womb, he was visited by an extraterrestrial being because the infant had a congenital hole in his heart. And that meant that when he would be born, he would not be able to live because all the blood would be spilling out. An extraterrestrial being who did not come into the womb where he was, but told this little infant growing inside his mother's womb, told him that he was here to help that infant. I am here to put an invisible electromagnetic strip over the hole in your heart. Late in his 40s, the surgeons found that he had a huge hole in his heart, the size of a silver dollar, and they were amazed
Wow.
that it wasn't spilling out and killing him.
I got goosebumps hearing that story. I love that story.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I get goosebumps too about the whole thing. And very often, that kind of physical work that's going on with the person turns out to be that the beings are healing them. And so there are many, many cases of people being healed of something really drastic, like cancer or heart failure, or lung problems or
Wow.
brain problems or kidney problems.
That
And
just must have
uh,
just blown your mind when you heard things like this, people being miraculously healed and didn't
yes,
understand why until you did the regression, and then they got the understanding of what happened to them.
yes. And so
Yeah.
that really puts it all in a different light that they are taught. They're taught wonderful skills like telepathy and telekinesis and a whole range of psychic skills. And they're not only healed themselves physically, if they have something wrong with their bodies, but they are also, in many cases, taught how to heal other people when they come back to Earth. Some of them have actually changed their careers.
It absolutely
Yeah.
is a wonderful gift. And this conversation is so wonderful and so magnificent because we're seeing a whole different side to the conversation about intelligent beings.
You see, out there in space, there are council meetings that happen among different extraterrestrial species. And there's one very large council meeting called the Galactic Federation, quite like our United Nations. That these nations gathering together would like to see the human nation evolve enough in consciousness and behavior so that we would qualify for being members, permanent members of that great galactic federation. It actually took me about 3 years to prove to myself that there really were UFOs, and there really were extraterrestrial beings. There are many, many species of beings out there in space who really care about Earth. They really care about humanity. Right. Really fun and I think significant aspects of these subjects that we're talking about today is that they still have this sense of mystery. Like, who are these beings and what are they doing? How did they manage to get here? Sometimes the extraterrestrial beings will come and appear as if they're some familiar life form, like a white owl. And one of the ladies I regressed several years ago, so she'd open the sliding glass door and step out into the yard, top of the fence. That was a lemur. So we did a regression to one of those lemur experiences, and it turned out that the lemur look was really a screen image for her to see something familiar, but it really was an extraterrestrial.
And it's that
Yeah,
moment where you're looking at something, you're thinking like something is off about that animal or that creature. And you
yes,
just immediately your human brain comes in, you're like, nope, I'm not going to go there. What you're saying
right.
is after regression, you might have realized that your initial response to, oh, that's a little bit strange, is because it was a cosmic being.
Something a little bit different
Something a little
about
bit
the
different,
being.
a little bit
Like
off.
that's awfully big for an owl, or
Oh yeah.
um, well, a deer doesn't really just stand on two legs, you know, or things of that sort.
Yeah.
So sometimes people have seen a bear.
Yeah.
It looks like it appears like a bear standing, but that really is a screen image of an extraterrestrial. Or I've heard somebody who encountered a really big dog, a tall dog, probably about 5'5" tall. Now that's pretty big for a
That's a
dog,
dog.
but it,
Yeah.
it certainly looked like a dog with big shiny eyes, as some dogs have. And that turned out to be an extraterrestrial posing as a dog.
And that's why regression is so important, because it helps us review that information and see it in a different way. Like review the
Yeah.
information in the exact way our original perception saw it, not what was overridden later by our human brain and minds.
Now, there are cases that I know of from people I've worked with. It's a man who was taken, and then the door opened to that room, and in came the most incredibly exotic looking female, mounted him for sex. During the act, the screen image faded away. It turns out to be that it is really an extraterrestrial being. He was having sex with a reptilian female. He wasn't able to have sex with his wife for about 8 years or so until he started doing regressions with me. According to him and his wife, they were able to resume their sexual activity, which he was very glad about.
Saving
Right.
everybody.
Because I thought, well, if anybody else ever comes for this reason, I don't think they will, but if anybody does, well, that's good. I know that I can be helpful to them. And
Yeah.
that was the main point for me, was to help people. A few months later, another lady came, and then another and another. After a while, it's added up to more than 2,030 people because they keep coming. So the number will keep increasing of these people whom I've done the regression work to.
Sometimes it's all about just breaking down a belief barrier about a specific aspect of the universe. So I'm hoping that this conversation, maybe someone hears something and they think, well, that's interesting. I've thought of that before, and now I can delve into it more. So this is very exciting, the things you're talking about.
One of the things I noticed this year in particular, this past year, or maybe 2 years, that more and more people have been coming for regressions who don't need to go back to any particular experiences they've had. But the main question that they've had in their minds for quite a while is, why am I here in this life?
Ooh.
What is the main purpose of my having come into this lifetime? They weren't just here to live a regular old ordinary life, larger reason
Mhm.
to give service in some particular way, and they don't know what that way is. And some of them find out through the regression, they're part of the preparation for ascension. That means the people's evolving in consciousness enough to be in a higher dimension while still living here on earth, that they will suddenly have that sense of receiving information. So I think that's very good news for humanity that more and more people are sort of awakening, but they begin to realize after a while, whoa, there's some sort of a line of connection between me and these other beings who are trying to help out by dropping this information
Information.
in. And very often, those people come to know that they are having these contacts with certain kinds of extraterrestrial beings. Some of the very benevolent species would really like to see humanity improve and evolve, rise in consciousness and spirituality, and increase their awareness that there are many other beings in the cosmos besides just us. We're at a very unique time in history in so many ways, one of which is that our governments, US government, and some others, are kind of preparing, it seems, their public for the fact that there really are UFOs, and they get disturbed with anything unknown flying into their airspace as a potential threat. So, whatever we're hearing now officially from the Pentagon, the CIA, other parts of the government tend to be couched with a sense of threat or maybe
Fear.
threat. We better watch
Mhm.
out, maybe threat. And so it's very important, I think, to balance that out with knowing that with many of these personal encounters with the beings on those very same crafts, that there can be a lot of helpfulness going on.
Very complex subject, and it's really nice to hear you talk so highly and so positively about it, because you're right, that message really needs to surface more often.
Some of the beings, quite a number of the beings have done, is a hybridization program. They create hybrids who are actually living here on Earth as regular people
Hmm.
with some extraterrestrial genetics, who's mostly human. They will be very in touch with those beings and they will be coached and inspired in doing the good work.
Well, Barbara, that's a perfect segue because now I would love to ask more about all of your acclaimed books. You have so many good books that people can
Uh,
get their hands on. Talk about your favorite book that you've written. What was your favorite? I know it's hard because you have so many good ones. Is there
they're
one
all
that's your
favorite.
favorite? They're all your
They're all
favorite.
favorites, right? So it is hard to choose. But the first book that I wrote back in the year 2000, but still very applicable to now, um, is about the crop circle phenomenon, which
Mm,
I went to England to research personally every summer for 27 years. History, the development of the symbols in the crop circles, and beautiful color pictures, beautiful patterns of geometries, a few each year that are man made. We know that. I've talked to the hoaxers. I know that they
you're the
make
expert.
a
You know the
few.
hoaxers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think most of them, in my quite educated opinion, are genuine. And that means they come from this unknown, mysterious source, which I think is an off planet intelligent source. that crop circle was full of energy, a change of energy, an increase of energy, which can actually be felt by people,
Mhm.
and it can actually be measured by various kinds of equipments too.
Symbols for communication between the two beings, us and
Yes,
yeah,
uh,
communication,
I
like for
do. I
activation,
do
maybe.
think I do think that the crop circles are here for many purposes. One of them is for communication between that intelligence out there in space and us. Gathered over the years, we must have 3,000 at least, perhaps more, uh, crop circles, and they're all a different pattern.
Makes you think this has to be a real phenomenon that's happening.
Oh, it's,
Oh
it's
yeah.
a huge phenomenon, and I think it's very significant. Another book that I wrote, actually the second one, is called Alien Experiences, and that features um, 25 cases from my caseload up to that time, which was 2008. And then the third book was Meet the Hybrids. We have a subtitle, which I really love, which is The Lives and Missions of ET Ambassadors on
Ah.
Earth. And these 8 hybrids interviewed at great length, all born here, and they certainly have always looked totally human, that they had certain differences. Like one has an unusual blood consistency, another one has different bone consistency, another one has thumbs that sort of flange out at the end. Another one has unusual musculature, much weaker muscles. They have all grown up to be of service completely. That's what their lives are about. Some of them have said that the hybrid program is going on all over the universe, not only with humans and extraterrestrials, but various species are combining other species or components of other species to create hybrid extraterrestrial being. So, and
Congratulations.
you asked which is my favorite one. Well, I think as I was writing each one, that was my favorite one. And it's very hard to say,
To
but
choose.
at this moment, my favorite work, because I'm so close to it, to just completing it with Mary Edwards, this is my favorite right now.
So we have one final question for you. And the final
Okay.
question is, what would be your main message to humanity about cosmic beings? Kind of your legacy of what you want people to know, what you've learned in the many, many years of regression therapy.
Overall, I would like humanity to know that, first of all, we have a cosmos full of many, many different highly intelligent beings. They consider us an amazing planet. I have been told personally by one of the extraterrestrials that planet Earth has more species than all of the other planets in existence put together. And many of them have said that they have had some help in creating human beings. And therefore, they kind of look at us as their children working with us humans. It's becoming more and more important to us humans too,
Oh,
just
absolutely.
simply among humans.
One of the main messages that came out today was that it's a very positive experience. There's a lot of benevolence inside the universe, and there's a lot of healing that happens between these intelligent beings and humans, and that we are very loved. There's a sense of
Yes,
love there. I mean, what a human would describe as love. There's a lot of unconditional love.
it is. There is a lot of unconditional love, even though the package, the being, may look really, really different. And even some of the beings that have been more frightening, such as the reptilian beings. There are different species of reptilians, and there are some very positive, favorable, kind, likable, probably even lovable beings who are in that broader category of reptilians.
Increase more of our awareness and consciousness, we become more accepting of everyone and all of us. And what you just
Yeah.
said, some of the alien beings might not look friendly, but they are very, very loving. So it's almost like
Yeah.
if we can't accept each other the way we are and look, how are we going to accept a very loving being that may have fangs or big eyes? I mean, what would your message be for someone who might be afraid of the way some other intelligent being looks, like the shock
Well, yes,
value?
and I think probably most people would feel very frightened of many of, especially some of the beings, but even all of them, just because they're different and we don't know what to expect. That's one of the really wonderful things about the regression work. Helps us to get past any prejudice that we might have about these other beings. And then that hopefully will help us to get past prejudice toward other humans who are
Yes.
different in skin
Yes.
color or culture, language. And that is what many of the extraterrestrial beings would dearly love to see us do on Earth. And that is to accept each other, even with the differences, and cooperate and get along together and create a beautiful life on Earth for all people.
Makes me
I
want to
would like to
cry.
see that too.
You said that so well. And hopefully one day we'll all be part of the Galactic Federation with your help, right? With your help with regression therapy. So I would love to talk about some of your upcoming events, your big conferences. I know you have a few that are coming up. Things are opening up again. Very exciting. So go ahead and
Yes,
tell us about some stuff.
some of them are even going to be happening in person, June 6th through 12th, UFO Mega Conference, and it's going to be held in Laughlin, Nevada. A whole bunch of speakers, including myself. Also, at that event, we have experiencer support groups. I will be conducting those groups. So then there's another June 19th and 20th, Saturday and Sunday, and
Wonderful.
that is a hybrid conference, and that is going to be on Zoom.
Can't wait to
Yeah.
see you. That's going to be amazing. So
Good
thank,
things coming up.
oh,
Oh,
yes.
there's another conference in South Dakota, Friday, July 23rd, through that weekend, including Monday, the 26th, going to a special Native American celebration festival as part of that experience. And there will be speakers, and we may even go to the Badlands of South Dakota for special
Oh,
processes and sky
yes.
watches. And anyway, that is a really exceptional conference as well.
To anyone that is listening, if you have any kind of experiences that Barbara has brought up, or even if beginning we talked about you're looking for your purpose or why you're here, then you'll definitely want to talk to Barbara. Barbara is a wealth of information, and also she's incredible at regression therapy. You can reach Barbara at barbaralamregression.com. She has a form there. You can access that. You can contact Barbara. Everything that Barbara's talked about, whether that was her books or her conferences that she's going to be speaking at, will be in the description box as well. Thank you so much, Barbara. Is there anything
You're
else that you want
welcome.
to let people know about our cosmic audience?
There's so much more going on in life than we have realized, so much more going on in the cosmos. And let's look at it all with eyes of peacefulness rather than threat and enmity, because there's so much benevolence and so much caring for us, and we in turn can care about them. So I wish you all many, many blessings.
Oh, thank you, Barbara. Thank you so much. Mwah. I will talk to you soon. Thank you, Barbara. And thank you everyone for
Okay.
watching. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.